All right, class. Hello. I apologize. I'm getting the lecture out late this week, so my sincerest apologies. I'm going to be trying to get actually a fair amount ahead here over the next little bit. With my daughter's actually going to be playing a lead in a movie, and so we're going to be on set a bit. So I'm going to try to get ahead to where I don't have anything slowing us down if I have to be out on set. Um, All right, so let's talk about a couple things. Number one, homework one. I want that in by Monday. And homework one, what I'm looking for is for you to define a hero. I want you to define a villain, and I want you to define a monster. I want you to try to grapple with these concepts. Um, People often think of monsters and villains as the same thing. And I want you to really kind of think about how they're different. Because, for example, think of Monsters Inc. Are the characters of Monsters Inc. villains? They're monsters, but they're not villains. What makes a monster? How do we think about monsters? Do some research. Look into monster theory. Look at what really makes somebody a villain. What really makes somebody a hero, right? Um, Too often we think in terms of like superheroes or super villains or right. That's too easy. I want you to really think about the concept. Okay. Um, don't forget, attendance is based on you having a meeting every week with me and a meeting every week with a tutor, preferably Sasha or Pierre. But if you can't meet with one of them, there are tutors that are listed as floaters on the schedule, and you can make an appointment with one of them if you can't meet with Sasha or Pierre. But try to, because I work with them most closely, and they're going to have the greatest familiarity with the work that we're doing in this class. Okay? All right, guys, today we're going to talk about writing process, is going to be our first topic. Um, Guys, too often you guys have been judged on your writing product. Okay, it's nothing. The only thing that the teacher has in front of them is is what you turn in. Okay, and they haven't focused on the steps that got you there, and so you haven't gone through these steps because nobody's ever worked you through them. So today we're going to talk about these steps that we go through to get to that final product, how to take them, when to take them, um, and how to ultimately end up with a good product without focusing on getting to the product. Think of it as taking a journey. If you're going from Oklahoma to Orlando and you take you drive for 2 miles, it's like, Jesus, this isn't Orlando. And you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get to Orlando. Man, I shouldn't even try. Orlando's forever away. How am I going to get there? And so you quit, and you're miles and miles away from Orlando because you focus so much on Orlando rather than, hey, I had to drive these 2 miles to get there, and it's okay that I'm not there yet. I'll get there. The analogy that I use, and I think I used it in our first class, but I'm going to go over it again because it's important. Think of it as growing any type of produce. Think of it as growing corn, right? When you grow corn, the first thing you do is you dig a hole in the ground and you put a seed in there. And then you cover that seed. And what do you cover that seed with? You cover that seed with shit. Why do you cover it with shit? Because shit is required. You can't grow. You can't grow produce without shit. Lots of shit. It is crucial. You must have it. And then after you cover it in shit, you tend it and you water it. You make sure it gets enough sunshine. And you cover it in even more shit as it goes along. It has to have it. It has to go through the process of growing. Because what you don't do is you don't turn around 2 days after you put the seed in the ground, go out, dig it up, and eat it. Why? Because all you have then is a shit-covered seed. And that's not what you want. It has to go through a process of growing. And writing is the exact same way. You're going to write. The first thing that you write, guys, it's going to be shit. I know this because the first thing that I write, and I have a PhD specifically in writing, the first thing I write every single time is shit. It's not great. That's okay. It's not the final draft. The final draft will take time. So when you write, once you get to actually writing, okay, I don't want you to worry about grammar. I don't want you to worry about spelling. I don't want you to worry about organization. I want you to write. Write poorly, without any of that in mind. Get a draft. Get a draft written. Okay? Then, after you do that, we can go back in. We can revise it. We can look and see where you're struggling, and we can work with it. Okay? That's why we have the tutors to work with you. That's why I'm meeting with you every week. Okay? And make sure that, by the way, as you're working with the tutors, make sure you're uploading your most recent draft to your appointment. Okay? That way they can see it and they can upload and you can work on it on the whiteboard. So, accept that it's going to be bad, and accept that it being bad early on is actually a good thing. It is okay. All right, so let's talk about the various steps of writing. So the first thing that you're going to do is you just need an idea. Okay, you just need an idea. And that can come from a variety of places. One of the best things that you can do for generating an idea is a free write. And in a free write, you're going to take 10 minutes, okay? And you're going to write non-stop. If you're writing on paper, your pen doesn't stop moving the whole time you're writing, all right? Even if all you're writing is, I don't know what to say next, I need to say something, God, I can't come up with any ideas. Even if that's all you're writing, that's okay. Just generate ideas. You might write 2 sentences during that free write that you actually end up using. That's okay, all right? Don't sweat that. The whole point isn't to get it to write the paper. The point is to write for ideas. So, read a book. Okay, if you're writing about a specific topic, read about the topic. If you're writing a fairy tale about trolls, gosh, what are the characteristics of trolls? Read about trolls. See what people say about trolls, what they are. If you're writing, about the pyramids, before you can start writing about them, you've got to read about them. So a big part of your writing starts before you actually start writing. That idea generation portion cannot be overlooked, cannot be dismissed. So take your time before you start writing to do your research, to generate ideas. You free write to find out what you know on the topic, then go over it. What don't I know? What are things that I need to know before I can really start writing? And then go research and find that information. And then you'll find you've got all this wonderful, juicy information to work with that's going to help you build your paper. All right. Once you do that, once you have your information, then we're going to organize the information. You can do an outline. Okay? Outlines are great for layering information, right? Saying, okay, I want to do this, then I want to do this, and then this goes under this topic. It's great for that. You can do a webbing, and I love webbings, okay? Because what you do with the webbing is you do your main idea in one color, right? Like your big bubble. So let's say you're doing your big bubble in red in the middle. And then off of red, you're going to have a purple bubble that covers a subtopic. And then you're going to have a blue bubble that covers another topic that's related to it. And all the information related to that. And I like to do this on like big pieces of butcher paper, right? Those massive pieces of paper, and you do it big, and then you can just put that sucker right on your wall. So you got this multicolored organizational device to let you know what all it is you want to cover. But you want to do some kind of organizational device to keep all your thoughts together. Speaking of which, one thing that I would highly suggest is to have a commonplace book. And a commonplace book is basically a place where you can just write down ideas. Now, what people used to do is they would carry like a small little notebook with them, okay? And anytime they had an idea that they wanted to hang on to, they would just write it down in the notebook. You guys have a phone, okay? So just put a commonplace book in your phone under your notes. And anytime you have a thought, you can just really quick pull out your phone, idea, and save it. And then that thought doesn't go away. Look, I bet most of you, some of your best ideas, they come in the shower, they come as you're driving down the road, right? And you don't have any place to hang on to that idea, and it goes away. But a commonplace book is going to allow you to hold on to thoughts that otherwise might slip out of your head, okay? Very strongly recommend this for your composing process. So you've generated ideas, you've organized your ideas, now you need goals, okay? I'm going to have such and such done by such and such a date. I'm going to accomplish this by this time, okay? Now notice, you've done all of this stuff, and do you know what you haven't done yet? You haven't started writing. This is pre-writing. And what pre-writing does is it makes the writing itself go so much easier because you've done so much of the mental work before you've hit the paper, okay? So, take your time on the pre-writing part. It is okay to not just dive in and start writing. Generate your thoughts, organize your thoughts, put goals in place. Only after you do that, do you start writing. And then the writing process is going to go simpler. And like I said, once you start writing, damn it, don't worry about the small shit. We're going to get there. Don't worry about the right verb tense. Don't worry about having the right word at the time. If the only word you can think of at the time is the wrong word and you know it, put it down. Still write it. We can come back. We can fix it. Okay? That comes in a different step of the writing process completely. Okay? Right now, you're just getting words on the paper. All right? It's like making clay. Look, if you're making clay, or if you're making pottery, you have to make the clay first. Right now, all we're doing is making the clay. We're not making the pot. Just make the clay. Have something to work with. Okay. Once you have everything written out, only after you do that are we going to go back in and start making it better. Now, the first thing we're going to do is revision, and revision is different than editing, okay? Most people think of them as the same thing. They're not. So with the revision process, we're going to address large-scale concerns. Revision is, man, my thesis statement here really isn't accurate. Man, this whole paragraph probably can be cut. Okay, I've got this section through here where I don't really explain what I need to for people to understand the next section. I need to add like 3 or 4 lines. This is revision, okay? It's the big stuff. It's the conceptual stuff that you're working with. We're not worried about words. We're not worried about commas. We're not worried about verb tense. None of that, okay? That's still not where we are. Again, this has been what's been pounded into you in high school. Is your verb tense right? Is your comma in the right place? And we're going to get to that at the very end, all right? So with revision, we're still focusing on large-scale issues. We've got something done. We're going to rearrange. We're going to reorganize. We're going to add. We're going to cut. Okay? All of that is okay. Once you do that, only after you do that, do you get in and you start worrying about grammar and spelling. And here's why. Remember I said part of what we do in the revision process is cut. You may cut an entire paragraph because guess what? That whole paragraph really wasn't adding anything to what you were saying, and so you're just going to get rid of it. Imagine spending 45 minutes fixing up that paragraph, getting your word choice right, getting your verb tense right, adding a semicolon, trying to figure out if you need to add a sentence to it. Oh shit, I just cut that paragraph. Damn, I just wasted 45 minutes fixing that paragraph. And so if you just spent 45 minutes fixing that paragraph, the last thing you want to do is get rid of it because you feel invested in it. I worked so hard on that paragraph. I don't want to get rid of it. One of my professors in my master's program described it as killing your children. Because ideas are your children, right? I had this idea that I love, and I worked with it, and I made it grow up. How can I kill it? Well, because that paragraph's not adding anything, okay? It is okay to kill your children. Now, let me just revise that. One of my other professors down the road said, you know what? It's not really killing your children. It's more like putting your children in Tupperware. Because you have a good idea. The idea itself was good. It just didn't go with what you were working on. And so instead what we're going to do is we're going to take that child, that lovely little idea, and we're going to pack it away in Tupperware for later. Okay? And then when the time comes, you can take it back out and use it. So, feel free to cut. Be okay with cutting. But like I said, don't focus on the details, the small stuff, the spelling, the grammar, the commas, all that type of stuff until the very end. Because odds are you're going to cut, and that's okay. Don't get so invested in what you've written that you can't cut what needs to be cut. So, this is the writing process. Now, the way that I explained it just now made it sound like it was this neat, orderly, you go from this step to this step to this step to... That's not how it works. I wish that was how it worked, but it's not. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to start writing a paper, and you're going to get partway in, and your paper is about the 100 Years' War between England and France, okay? And you're going to start writing about the 100 Years' War between England and France, and you're going to realize, oh my goodness, there's this family that was really important at this battle, this royal family, and I don't know anything about them. But I need them in order to make the point that I'm trying to make. I need to write about them. And so guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to have to go all the way back to pre-writing, okay? As far as generating ideas, you're going to have to read up on that family. You're going to have to organize the information. And then you're going to have to write it. So, writing is cyclical, okay? You're going to go back. It's recursive. You're going to go back through the various phases of writing over and over. You're going to go from pre-writing, right, generating ideas. You're going to get up to revision and editing. You're going to read something. You're going to go, oh my gosh, I need to add something. You're going to have to go all the way back to the beginning, get some more information, right? That's okay. That's how writing works. You're going to go through these various steps over and over and over again. It's recursive, and that is completely okay. Now, in order for that to work, though, you have to give yourself time. You have to give yourself enough time. Because if you don't, it's going to be like planting that seed and having to dig it up 2 days later. Okay? So, start early. Do your research before you get there. Okay? Before you start writing. And then, once you get your shit out, start working through the process of revising and editing. All right? But give yourself time. All right. Now, let's talk about detail and description. Detail and description are what bring papers to life. And not just papers, especially stories. Because our first paper is a story. It's a narrative. You're going to be doing either a fairy tale or a memoir. All right? Now, I know that we talked about, with fairy tales, for example, memoirs have a lot of detail and description. Fairy tales don't have as much, but it means that the ones that you use have to be good, right? And you have to do it in fairy tales. use simple language, but they still need to be precise, okay? Children still want to feel a world that's alive. So, think about your setting. What can I describe in the setting? Think about emotions. How can I describe a feeling? Okay? Think about a person. How can I describe who I'm talking about? Think about a time. What details can I add to make people feel like they understand when we are, right? So basically your journalist questions: who, what, where, why, when, how, okay? How can you use detail and description to bring that to life? So think about the words that we're going to use for detail and description. The primary words are adjectives and adverbs, all right? And as we think